Good morning, this is Lee Fondant and Apron Strings from sunny Stanhope in County Durham in our cake cafe and design studio. Okay, plug over. It's very early in the morning. I'd like to say that I don't always look this tired, but I do. I hope everybody's well. I suddenly thought that as I was halfway through Ganache in this cake, that somebody might be interested in seeing how. So apologies for being halfway through it, but I will talk you through what I've done and what I'm still doing. And I am very appreciative that this camera angle looks like the cake is wonky, so bear with me because it actually isn't. I've had a spirit level on there, so it's not. I think it's just the angles, but I'm looking at it, it's very odd. So I'm going to keep talking you through. What I have here is a big giant tub of chocolate ganache. If you want the recipe for that, let me know. This is a cake here. Actually, this is quite a small cake. It's just an 8-inch cake. But we always put 3 tiers of cake in, so people get a lot of cake. And actually, it's for a unicorn cake for a 7th birthday. So I won't be showing this video till after then because it's not, it wouldn't be a surprise. But the cake is rich chocolate cake with extra chocolate bits. And the buttercream is chocolate buttercream with extra chocolate bits. And the ganache is Belgian chocolate ganache, because she's obviously a chocolate gal. So what I've done is I've got a plate at the bottom, plate at the top. I've got a trusty, what's this, square ganache, which I made the day before. Always make it the day before. It is a little bit solid now, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to melt it a little bit in our trusty microwave. Can you still hear me? Just for a few seconds. It has to be, everybody will find their own consistency that they like to use. People on the YouTube and all that sort of thing will say that it has to be the consistency of peanut butter. Yes to that, but whether it's firm peanut butter or not is entirely up to you. You'll find which texture works the best. You'll see that you'll see what sort I'm using. And what do you do? Spatula off. I always use an offset spatula because I'm a sissy and I like to use offset spatulas. They're a little bit easier. And I'm always about why make your life any more difficult. In the cake world, we're always covered in something. So thank you for watching this YouTube channel. I know that I'm actually probably doing these for nobody, but anybody who is watching, say hi to me and let me know. So all I'm doing is literally smearing this up and down and just trying to fill in every single little bit of gap to get it as straight as possible. And there's no quick way of doing this. This is just time and effort, really. And love. We always put love into it. And if you haven't watched any of our YouTube before, and let me explain what it's all about while I'm just doing this, because this can look like it's, if you're not interested in this can look like a bit like it's watching paint dry. We've got a cake cafe in Stanhope. We do real cakes for real people, and it suddenly dawned on me that because I also do classes, and I don't have time for a lot of classes at the moment, that let's do it on YouTube. But then I thought, well, I'm no camera person. I very rarely wear loads of makeup, and the lighting's just normal lighting. So I just thought, let's do real things for real people on real cakes that are going out to real customers, which means that you get warts and all. You get me messy, first thing in the morning, all that sort of thing. So it's very real. So if anything goes wrong, we'll put it right, because that's what you have to do with a real cake. You can't stop the camera, start again. So that's hopefully what happens. So, most of the time this ganache works first time, but depending on the heat, how damp it is in the kitchen, humidity, that sort of thing. So far, and I know I've just jinxed it, it's working well. Right, so I've just gone round, I don't know if you see, trying to fill in anything, and then I'm going to use this. Now, I have several of these, and you'll find your own. You can use a ruler, anything that's got a nice square flat. You're going to go around, pressing it against the top plate and the bottom plate until you get that. Now you can see here, lovely, here, not so much. So that's the bit where I need to fill in. Always happens, that's not unusual. That's really what I'm expecting. So more ganache all the way around. Again, not the most interesting thing to watch, so I apologise for that, but if you're looking to learn how to ganache, this is definitely a 101 class. So everything we do is real. You know, I went to yoga last night and my arms are aching, and so when I got into work and I suddenly remembered, and I don't know why I forgot, because I made the cake yesterday, late last night, and the ganache yesterday, so I knew I was doing this. I suddenly thought, oh, because this actually is quite good for the old arms, triceps apparently that's the bit it's good for. So I can feel this working out. So done that. Let's do it again, all the way around, making sure that the edge of that is fairly clean. Pushing it gently against the bottom and top plate. There you go. Now what I'm doing is just scraping that off, because we need to use it. So again, keep going, all the bits that you feel as though you've missed. Again, this is it's not a quick thing, but if you want to use chocolate ganache, it's definitely a way to do it. Why am I using chocolate ganache? Well, a lot of people will use buttercream. For me personally, I think that there's a lot of benefits from chocolate ganache. Firstly, why would you not use Belgian chocolate with cream? I mean, come on, right? I don't particularly like eating cake, which is quite unusual, I guess, for cake bakers. Or maybe it isn't. Maybe that's why, not all of us are huge. Though I could do with all getting a bit fitter. But anyway, but I do love chocolate and cream and things like that. So firstly, it tastes really good. Also, I feel that it gives the cake a little bit more stability, especially when you're doing a stacked cake. I just think buttercream can be a little bit unpredictable when it comes to the temperature of where you're leaving it, maybe, because we deliver cakes to beautiful venues, but in the winter time they're heated. Let's just go around this again, pushing it gently. I've also just moved it to an angle so it's less of a scrape, less of a push and more of a scrape. There you go. You see it's starting to do that. Okay, so it's just sort of like works its way down. So we deliver to these fabulous venues, which in the winter time obviously they're heated because we have very extreme winters here sometimes. I think last Easter time, which I can't remember, in 2018, just in case you're watching this and it's 2045 or something, that'd be cool. Easter time, the whole of Stanhope was almost closed to a standstill. Kids were off school because of the snow, so people had the heating on a lot. In the summertime, it can be really hot in these wedding venues because they have huge windows. So having buttercream on the underneath the fondant for me just doesn't feel right, because it feels like it can be less stable. Another reason for me is I just think it's a bit more grown up. I just have these memories of when my kids were small and I was used to make cakes for them, and they always used to be covered in buttercream. We used to do children's parties at Christmas time they sort of got out of hand. They would start off small and ended up in the local community centre with all parents and children with Santa Claus and gifts and oh gosh, I don't know. Anyway, we used to do all that and everything was covered in buttercream. So I always think to do with children. Again, let's just go around it at an angle. Can you see? And this time, because it's getting close to being smooth, there's more chocolate on there. I'm going to scrape that off as I go around, not leaving it to the end. Pushing it against at an angle. Scraping it off with this spatula. Starting to get there. There you go. Right, let me explain what's happening now. Just scrape that off. Nice giant hand of the camera. Okay, so you can see it's getting to smooth, but you've still got these little pockets. Now, they may not look a lot, but once you start covering your cake in your rollable icing, your fondant, as I call it. I mean, I know it's called lots of different things, but I'd call it fondant. I use Bako, by the way, which is my favourite one because they're very local. That's not the reason why. It's Renshaw and all that one, fabulous, but Bako is, to me, as good, if not better, and cheaper. And we're a small business, so every penny counts. So these tiny little things that you see and that you're thinking, oh, why is she covering those up? They are actually going to make such a difference when you're covering your cake in icing. Okay. Right. Because they will leave little dips. And you... Let's do that. Hold on. Oh, mine's thinking of the next thing. Okay, here we go. Let's try that again. Again, bottom and the top. So you can see, I'm trying to be able to see the bottom plate, cake plate, as I go round. That's my ideal. Just look at the time, and because this is a real place, real working cafe, and actually I'm in today by myself. Tuesdays I tend to have the day to myself even though we're open, so I know I have to make some scones, cheese and fruit, and carrot cake and things like that, but I just want to get this done first. Can you see? So part of that is fine. We're gonna, you know, this bit, but here not so much. So I'm just going to fill in that little bit there, and my ganache is starting to get a little bit firm, so I might have to just give it a little bit of a warm again. This is the bit where I always go wrong, because if you heat the ganache up a little too much, then it turns into, well, it just melts too much, and then you have to wait for it to set again, which is why you have to do it overnight. Well, I do it overnight. So this is the bit where I think, oh, I'll just rush the end bit and I shall just melt it into the microwave, and then I walk away and do too much, leave it in there for too long, and it sort of like puts me back a couple of hours. So I'm going to try and pay attention to this because I don't have time. I've got lots of things to do for lots and lots of cakes today. I'm getting very busy, which I'm never going to complain about, but it does mean that I have a lot to do. So I'm just sort of patching it up and then I did it with an angle because I don't want it to be too extreme, this last few scrapes. So if you angle your scraper towards you as opposed to straight on, you're going to get less of an intense scrape. You see, almost done. Just got a little bit there, a little bit there. There's no rushing, and you know, don't, if this is your first time doing this, give yourself time, set yourself time. Don't do it on the day of decorating. In fact, this will stay until the next day. If I ganache cake, I never ganache on the same day. I may ganache late at night, but it'll always have at least a few hours to set and keep cool. Don't necessarily have to keep this in the fridge. We have got a design studio at the back that's really, 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 really cool. We've got fans and all that sort of thing. Excuse me, I just coughed. I didn't cough into my hand, I coughed into my elbow, so I would never do that. So don't do it straight away because it needs to set and be stable and things like that. Okay, can you see that I've almost finished? So I'm going to go through just one last tiny scrape, so very loose scrape. Don't push it too hard against the plates. What on earth was that? Little tickle. So just giving it a nice last go around. Okay, dying here. And I think that will be it. Right, so as I'm just going to have a great big cough now, and I'm going to have to wash my hands and things like that, I'm going to leave like that. What will happen is I'll take the top plate off very carefully with this, going all the way around. I shall then get some more ganache and smooth the top off with ganache. Use a spirit level again to make sure this cake is very level, and then I shall set this aside. Oh, I'll also take the bottom plate off because it's got a board, obviously. And I shall set this aside, and then we'll decorate it, and hopefully I can post some pictures when I do that. So thank you so much for watching this. I hope you weren't bored. Please subscribe and do all that wonderful things, because at the moment it feels like I'm just out talking to anybody, so I'm hoping these will help. Have a great day. Speak to you soon. Bye.